Well, well, well. Would you look what the cat dragged in? I smell a smell. A smelly, smelly smell. I think I smell Karen. Foolishness, subscriber. Foolishness. Did you dare to think that even for a second that a Karen would actually show some kind of empathy and lack of an ego to her fellow people on this earth? Well, if you thought that, you were wrong. Do you want to know why? Because a Karen's might controls everything. And I think we can all agree to that fact. Jackpot! And so, this humble Karen story begins in New York City, where she goes viral arguing with someone over a bike. And not just any bike, a motorized rental that you can find on any college campus, or in any city for that matter. But I rest my case.
No, record him.
Help! Help me! Please help me!
Not your bike.
Here we see the Karen in its natural habitat.
Please help me!
It's not your bike.
Please help me! Help! Please get off me!
Hey, what the f*** going on, bro?
Please get off me!
Yo, don't not take it, bro. Now you're not getting the bike, bro. Now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Help!
As you can say, the Karen likes to call out for help as if to portray as if she's in actual conflict. I must say, I am quite surprised that she used the damsel in distress card, because I could have sworn that we wanted equal rights around here. But hey, I guess women can get the best of both worlds, am I right? If you want the cake, you gotta eat it too. So yeah, she's crying out for help, making it seem as if she's the victim in the situation when she's apparently trying to steal this bike from the young black man over there.
You're not getting
Get
the
off
bike.
me,
I'm
dude!
not. Oh,
Why you took his phone? What's wrong with you?
stupid as something. You're
Don't
not
touch
touching
his
my
phone. Do not touch his phone.
I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my hand.
My dude, stop. No, my dude, stop. No. I said no. I said sit down.
She's just crying.
You're not crying. You're not crying. I got you on video. Wait, you pulled it out? Hey, Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan, you pulled it out?
This is my bike. It's on my account. Please move.
All right, so why don't we reset the bike?
I'm not resetting the bike.
It's his.
Reset it and then pull it out on your account.
You're active. This is my fake crying. This is fake crying. Stop fake crying.
Hey, stop touching me. I want to touch you.
Hold up.
Hey, stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Why don't you take this bike?
Stop touching me.
I will.
Exactly. So take
Get out of here.
it. So take it.
You're stupid ass. Get out of here. Dumbass. Your baby gonna come out.
Wait. How you stop crying? Not a tear came down, miss. Not a tear came down.
Alright, now I don't know whose bike it is because we're not getting the full entire context of the situation here, but what I will say is, it's kind of funny seeing the way this Karen is actually carrying on. So yeah, I don't know whose bike it is. Don't fucking sue me. So I'm gonna go with what I know and what I see, and I'm not gonna tell you, this Karen is looking like a degenerate supervillain right now, especially when she's wearing her fucking uniform from the hospital. That right there is honestly awkward as shit for her to be still wearing her uniform and doing this. Imagine just representing a company and doing that. Not that I give a fuck about any of these companies, but man, if I had an employee and they were doing some shit like this in uniform, goddamn, she got fired. Sorry, the pressure of being a manager for an instant just got to my fucking head. But yeah, after calling for help, she seems to be very calm in the situation, telling the guy, dude, get off me. And then she even she actually ends up taking this guy's phone. And she tells the guy to get off her, but clearly you can see that she's the one trying to body him off of the bike. He's barely even on the bike. He's just holding on to that shit for dear life, because who knows what kind of price he's going to be charged if he were to let this woman actually run off with this bike. It gets even worse because the situation escalates and she decides to start crying. Now, whether or not this was real or fake, we're just going to give both sides of the coin here. Heads and tails, regardless, it looks like she's ending up to be a fucking child who's throwing a temper tantrum. It just looks like that, no matter how I try and look at it. Fake tears or not, it's kind of the same damn way. She's just throwing a goddamn temper tantrum, and it is really just embarrassing to watch. Now, about this whole entire situation, she also apparently paid for the bike, and so did the young black man, because they both showed receipts. The guy's sister showed a receipt, and apparently the Karen's lawyer also showed a receipt. And with both sides showing up with their own evidence, do you know what that means? Confusion! Yeah! I love me some confusion. Alright, so let's break it down. So, with this entire dilemma, they are fighting over a bike. How many times did that happen in your hood? I'll wait. I've seen so many bikes get stolen, but hey, that's besides the point. The young man here in this video ended up using this bike at 6:33 p.m. to 7:19 p.m. for 46 minutes. God damn, this feels like a math problem. Anyway, the Karen ended up using the bike at 7:24. So with that being said, she would have ended up using the bike right after the boy did. Now, this doesn't need that much critical thinking, because obviously the young boy ended up having the bike before her, so you can without a doubt say that that was the young man's bike, especially since he was already using it before. So I think that by default just goes to show who rightfully had this bike. But then again, she ended up having the bike at 7:24. However, at 7:24 p.m., when she ended up having the bike, this was during the same exact time the fight happened. So was the bike really in her possession at that time? That's the real question here. Did she have the bike before the fight or after? And even then, regardless of which, I think it's kind of funny that she's sitting here trying to fight this child over this damn bike when he had it before her. Regardless, the fact that his receipt shows that he had the bike before her, she as an adult should have let him have the bike. And apparently there are a lot more bikes there in the vicinity, so obviously she should have been the one to get another bike. Pregnant or not, why is an older woman arguing with a young adult when she should be the more mature one in the situation and let the child have the bike at the end of the day? That ultimately does not make any sense to me. You know, we have her side of the story. Apparently, they were pressing her. And his side of the story, she asked him for the bike, ultimately leading them to say no, that they did not want her to use the bike. And then the entire altercation happened because she wanted the bike. But even then, taking all this into consideration, the adult in the situation should let the child have what they want. That's just how it should be at the end of the day. It just makes no sense to me for a pregnant woman to be fighting over this bike at all in the slightest. Because if you really want to boil it down to anything, she should have just minded her own business, not asked anyone for anything, and that's going by that alibi. She should have just went over and got her own damn bike at the end of the day, and all of this would have never happened. And to be fair, the evidence against her is kind of a lot more damning than what it seemed. Not only would the young boy have the bike in his possession before her, but let's look at the city bike rules, alright? So if you're using a city bike and you end up having a membership, you can use a bike for up to 45 minutes. But if you have the bike longer than that time duration, you're going to be charged an extra 17 cents for every single minute that you use that bike. And your actual bike fare account can end up being suspended. So not only that, given the context of the situation, this boy was using the bike from 6:33 to 7:19 p.m., meaning that he was using it for 46 minutes, which would also appeal to the rules of using a city bike while possessing a membership. So this means that while he was using this bike, which was his bike, he was using it for the 45-minute duration that he was supposed to be using it. And so he would have obviously docked it so that he wouldn't be charged 17 cents every other minute that he was using the bike, and also risk his account being suspended, because if his account is suspended, how is he going to use this same bike to get home? So that is a really good ass question. So this lady here would have seen this bike docked, and then she would have probably tried to claim it for herself. Of course, we don't know exactly what happened because we only got what was recorded, which was the fight. But with the timestamp, it says that she had the bike at 7:24, which is the same exact time as the fight. Now, what happened before, we don't know. She could have asked for the bike. She could have got pressed by these young men. We do not know. But regardless of that fact, what this evidence is telling me is that this bike was there for this young man's, because he had it before and he was using the bike for the 45-minute duration that he was supposed to be using it. And of course, it would have been docked. so he would not have to deal with having to pay more money or having his account suspended. With that being said, now was he there puppy guarding the bike or not? I don't even know. It's beyond me. Ultimately, I feel like the Karen here should not have been so involved and got so deep into the situation that a fight ended up happening in the first place. If there were other bikes, she should have definitely gotten another bike, and it should have been just like that. There shouldn't have been no fight for possession for the bike that was already used by him. If he had it before, it was his bike. It's no different than two fucking children fighting over a goddamn toy. If it was his toy before, it's his toy then. If there's other toys in this fucking area, go get another toy. With this woman here, she should have just got another bike because, as we know, if there was one bike docked, there was definitely more other bikes docked right alongside it because it's only natural. And even then, we see other bikes in the video right next to her while she's fighting for the bike. Honestly, if you really want to boil down the whole situation to something simple, she was just being fucking childish and threw a tantrum rather than being the adult in the situation and getting another bike. And now with the backlash, the situation is getting even worse than you could already know. People are turning it into a fucking race war. This young black man versus this older white lady, and she's just trying to use everything in her power to subjugate him to the worst offenses. Why is this a way of thinking? Why is this like the first thing everyone is jumping to? The fact that it is their skin color. If that guy was white, it wouldn't be any fucking different. Let's be real. I just don't know why everything just has to do with skin. Is it not tiring for people, man? Is it not? I'm tired of it because it's always getting fucking brought up. Like, come on now. It's just sad to see people actually jumping to this and having this on their mind. I'm just beyond it at this point. Fuck all the race shit. All I gotta say is in this video, I will say that this woman definitely looks like she's weaponizing her tears and trying to manipulate the situation and try and make it so that ongoers can get their ignorance preyed on because they wouldn't know any better and they would jump and help the person that's asking for help. But honestly, she looks like an asshole asking for assistance here. It just comes across with a nonchalant, snarky attitude. You can clearly tell that she's just playing this shit off and she doesn't really need any help and she's not in any real distress. You can just ultimately tell that she's just trying to manipulate in the situation, and I don't really appreciate that at all. Now, does that have to do with race or anything like that? Fuck no. At the end of the day, regardless of skin color, she's just being a piece of shit in the situation, and she's just being childish. No one needs to boil it down to race anymore. All the people boiling down this situation to skin color, you just simply want a war at the end of the day, and I think there's something wrong with you, because really, all I see right here is a very immature old-ass lady. That's about it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just awkward to see someone who works at a hospital, no less, wearing such professional attire, acting this fucking way. I don't know what kind of day she had at work, but all of this here was definitely unnecessary. With that being said, with all the information that I saw, I definitely think the Karen is the villain in this situation. There isn't anything else I can really boil it down to. She should have just been an adult and let the child be. Because after all, how else was he going to get back home if you really want to think about that? He was using the bike. It was his bike. It should have been nothing more than that. If she asked and he said it was his bike, she should have moved on. Now, we don't have the other details because obviously none of us were in the situation. But with the information presented, due to the timestamps of when the bike was being used, the Karen's looking down bad. I'm sorry. And get this, there is a fundraiser for the Karen to defend her name from being called a fucking Karen. Are you serious? She raised $100,000 for being name called. What the fuck? So, it's hard enough as it is to give $100,000 to a fucking charity, but we're giving $100K to a lady for being fucking name called? You got to be kidding me. How many shit for brains are taking away the oxygen from the motherfuckers that need it? Oh my god. We raised $100,000. Not we, because I wouldn't raise money for something as stupid as that. $100,000 because this lady is being called a fucking Karen. Oh my god. I'm just gonna leave y'all on that. Just think about that. This lady got $100,000 for being name called. Oh my god.